Today on Investigate TV Plus, birds play a critical role in our environment, but a drop in their numbers is sparking concern for scientists.
It's very much a canary in the coal mine kind of scenario right now.
We examine how species struggling to survive can impact us and some current solutions already in the works to reverse this trend.
Plus, a fast-moving infection takes the life of a young girl.
Within 24 hours, our daughter's heart stopped and she couldn't breathe on her own.
We explore what one expert calls a major medical mystery.
Then we introduce you to the crews dedicated to shaping picture-perfect slopes while the rest of the world sleeps.
Love coming out here and taking stuff that has been torn apart, putting it back together, making it a nice smooth surface, and just watching people rip it up.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
When it comes to the health of our ecosystem, scientists say birds play a vital role. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. These animals are critical to many of the foods we eat, spreading seeds, pollinating plants, and controlling pests.
But a dramatic decline in bird populations has experts we spoke with alarmed, as they say it's often a sign of deeper environmental issues.
Here's our reality. Nearly a third of all bird species are now a high or moderate conservation concern, including 112 tipping point species, meaning they've lost more than half their populations in the last 50 years.
In an effort to bring back the birds, a group of students is stepping up with solutions.
Reporter Heather Graff tells us their story and shares a few ways each of us can help.
Soft feet, I'd recommend soft voices.
Birds love the rain because it makes puddles and they can drink.
On a soggy morning in Washington, D.C., these 7th graders from Sacred Heart School are on a mission.
We came to see what birds we could find and their migration process.
It's a trip to Rock Creek Park rooted in education.
I learned different type of species, different type of bird calls so I can identify them.
But for Abigail and her classmates, there's more to it than that.
We don't want them going extinct.
They're out here working to protect a migratory bird habitat.
They get a hands-on feeling for what it is to work on restoration and see the results of your work.
Steve Dryden is the director of Rock Creek Songbirds, an initiative focused on improving the environment for migratory birds.
There's the hermit thrush.
He's helping these young conservationists identify and remove invasive species like English ivy and bush honeysuckle, which can harm native plants and animals.
I know some of you know this answer. What we're trying to do is emphasize to the kids that, A, it's a very, very important place. We need to protect it. But B, we also need to do some very serious work to restore a lot of what's been lost.
Experts say this is more important now than ever because a recent report released by the North American Bird Conservation Initiative found that more than 200 bird species require urgent action.
This is concerning.
Amanda Rodewald served as Science Committee Chair for the 2025 State of the Birds Report, which found that since 1970, species like the Allen's hummingbird, tricolored blackbird, and saltmarsh sparrow have all lost more than 50% of their population. The biggest declines, grassland and aridland birds like the Baird sparrow and verdin. But in recent years, even duck populations, once considered a conservation success story, have trended downward.
We can't become complacent.
Researchers say there are many reasons why birds are disappearing, but the biggest among them?
Habitat loss and degradation.
Factors like residential development, rising sea levels, and crop clearing can damage and destroy natural areas, making them unable to support life. And Rodewald says the impacts can reach far beyond the birds.
We share the same environments with birds. And so if they're not healthy enough to support bird populations, they're unlikely to be healthy enough to support us.
It's very much a canary in the coal mine kind of scenario right now.
Jesse Walls is Senior Director of Government Affairs for the National Audubon Society.
What is at risk for these birds without intervention?
It is extinction. I was like, the risk is extinction.
According to a recent study, more than 500 bird species worldwide could go extinct within the next century due to man-made threats. But Rodewald says it's not too late to turn things around.
We can take steps proactively to recover these species.
Steps like increased investment in conservation programs, stronger habitat protections, and policies that promote sustainable land management.
Those are measures that are tested and shown that they can really make a difference.
The bald eagle was once driven to the brink of extinction following the widespread use of DDT. The species has since made a remarkable comeback following strong legal protections and the pesticides ban in the 1970s.
Would you point to that as a success story, that conservation works?
Yes, 100%. We never want a bird species to go on the endangered species list. And seeing the laws passed for the bald eagles and gold eagles on those pesticides issues, DDT, that is a success. We want to see that happen to other bird species as well.
Walls says continued intervention at both the local and federal levels is needed. He points to one important law in particular.
The Migratory Bird Treaty Act is one of the preeminent bird conservation protection laws in the country.
The federal statute, enacted in 1918, makes it illegal to hunt, capture, or kill migratory birds without a permit. Bipartisan legislation was recently introduced that would strengthen and modernize it, keeping in mind today's environmental challenges.
Birds are one group that can actually unite us. They really cut across all demographic and political groups.
According to the recent State of the Birds report, nearly 100 million Americans engage in birding activities, which generate $279 billion annually for the economy and support more than 1 million jobs.
Birds are really economic engines.
That's why it's no small feat what these students back in D.C. are trying to accomplish.
We're hearing the cardinal tufted titmouse.
As they set out to save threatened bird species.
They love these berries.
And even share a snack with them.
Share the binoculars with everybody in your group.
Teacher Rihanna Fisher says it's a simple act that shows we're all connected. In a world we must all commit to protect.
How important is it to educate the younger generation about conservation?
I think it's one of the biggest things we can do for young people today. We can and should care for our communities and the places that we live.
Another conservation effort decades in the making is the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center's Bird-Friendly Coffee program. It promotes sustainable, shade-grown coffee farming practices that help protect bird populations and their ecosystems. Grown under a canopy of native trees, shade-grown coffee preserves the forest structure birds rely on to survive.
My program seeks to work with landowners and specifically farmers to help build the knowledge, the tools, and then market incentives to retain habitat in these farming landscapes. Every purchase of bird-friendly coffee supports a farmer that chose to keep habitat for birds on their land.
There are more than 100 roasters worldwide who are certified to sell bird-friendly coffee. To learn more, just head to InvestigateTV.com and search bird conservation. In Washington, I'm Heather Graff.
For those asking, how can I help? The Cornell Lab of Ornithology has a list of 7 simple actions, which include making windows more visible, keeping cats indoors, avoiding pesticides, and as we heard from Ruth Bennett, drinking coffee that's good for birds. Still ahead, millions of Americans live without access to fresh foods.
We're on the mission to grow the quality of life our neighbors deserve.
We take you to the neighborhood farm, harvesting a local solution.
But first, for most people, a common fungus isn't life-threatening. However, rare infections can develop.
Within 24 hours, our daughter's heart stopped.
We explain fungal infections and examine who's at risk of deadly consequences. Millions of Americans wage a war against cancer every day, and from chemo to specialized gene therapy, doctors target the disease in many ways.
But oftentimes, while the treatments attack the cancer, patients' immune systems are left vulnerable to infections. A study published in the Journal of Oncology analyzed the deaths of more than 150,000 cancer patients. It found about 60% of deaths were related to an infection.
According to the American Cancer Society, this is because many treatments can lower white blood cell counts, which causes the immune system not to work as well as it should.
Certain types of cancer can also increase the chance for infection, including cancers that grow in the bone marrow, such as leukemias and lymphomas.
In March 2025, a 6-year-old girl who almost beat leukemia died when her weakened immune system couldn't fight off a fungal infection.
We spoke to an infectious disease expert to learn how this happened.
But first, reporter Michaela Marshall sat down with the girl's parents, who say they're shocked and heartbroken that despite beating cancer, their little girl lost her life.
She was very sassy and determined.
At just 6 years old, Lola Zimmer was a happy and healthy kindergartner who loved to play with her little sister, Phoebe. Her parents, Drew and Alyssa, say everything changed on Halloween.
We were heading out the door to actually go trick-or-treating, and she collapsed.
The Flagstaff family soon learned Lola had leukemia.
It was admirable. As strong as my daughter was,
she was our inspiration. She really was.
After months of grueling treatments, they say Lola just finished up the second phase of chemotherapy.
All doctors and us too were very hopeful and optimistic that she would have reached remission.
We were very convinced that she was going to beat cancer.
But the day after the final round of chemo, Lola went back to the hospital because she had a fever, which turned out to be from a fungal infection.
Within 24 hours, our daughter's heart stopped, and she couldn't breathe on her own. Seeing your daughter on life support, unresponsive, is really hard. And then having the doctors tell you that the fungal infection that she has is untreatable, and having to say goodbye is, it's traumatic.
I get frustrated and angry that she could have beat cancer, but she couldn't have beat a fungal infection.
As they begin to process the loss, Drew and Alyssa are finding new meaning in butterflies and cherries. Both became symbols of hope, connected to Lola, and now embody the fragility of life.
Cherish every moment. And
tell people you love them. Tell your family you love them. And
every day.
Tell your children you love them and kiss them goodnight.
As you just saw, Lola died after she contracted a fungal infection. We spoke with an infectious disease expert at Northwestern Medicine in Illinois to understand how fungal infections manifest.
According to Dr. Irfan Hafiz, the two fungi that infected Lola are commonly found in humans and typically come from moist, warm, and dark environments, such as soil.
As long as you're healthy, most of the fungi we see, our body does a phenomenal job. In fact, for fungi to start infecting most of us, there has to start to be something wrong.
Dr. Hafiz says it's important to note an infection from these fungi is extremely rare because they will only attack bodies with extremely weakened immune systems.
They're profoundly ill to begin with. They're getting some serious chemotherapy, bone marrow transplant, immunosuppressive drugs for major leukemias that have failed, and this has been going on for months to years of treatments.
He says many primary care physicians may go their entire careers without seeing a case, and doctors who work in a bone marrow transplant unit treating children with leukemia may see 1 or 2 per year.
When it comes to common fungal infections such as athlete's foot or diaper rash, Hafiz says you can eliminate the issue by removing the 3 things that help fungi thrive: heat, darkness, and moisture. As for what you can do to keep fungal infections at bay, he says practicing good hygiene is key. Still ahead, many Americans lack access to fresh food.
Ultimately, we want people to have, unregulated access to food no matter what.
We take you to the urban farm filling a need and sprouting solutions.
Plus, for these crews, moving powder is no problem.
Skiers move a lot of snow downhill a day, so we want to move that snow back up.
We introduce you to the crews styling the slopes.
Fresh produce at your local grocery store is something you might be used to seeing, but those living in what's called a food desert don't have the same access.
A food desert refers to an area where residents have few to no convenient options for affordable and healthy food choices, specifically fresh fruits and vegetables. According to data from the USDA, in 2022, about 19 million people, or 6% of the U.S. population, had limited access to a supermarket. In South Carolina, one nonprofit is harvesting hope at an urban farm.
Reporter Shelby Roberts introduces us to the team bringing healthy options to the neighborhood.
There's a lot of collard greens, kale, mustard greens, arugula, broccoli, just like all your winter crops.
The team at Fresh Future Farm is working to bring healthy options to North Charleston through food activism.
We're on the mission to grow the quality of life our neighbors deserve, and we're doing that through our urban farm and grocery store space, but also education as well.
Tamaja North is part of the 6-person staff at this Black-led nonprofit farm and grocery store, working alongside community volunteers to make food accessibility happen.
These are our compost tumblers that we use to, any excess crops or anything, we'll put them in here so they can break down, and then we'll put the compost back in our beds.
The once vacant lot has served as a place for the Chicora Cherokee community to buy fresh fruits, vegetables, and herbs since 2016.
Ultimately, we want people to have, unregulated access to food no matter what, and also doing that in a dignified way that isn't, creating more trauma for the people who are trying to just eat, because, we all do have to eat.
It fills a need in this neighborhood. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, it's one of 12 zones in the North Charleston area where people live between 1 and 10 miles from the nearest supermarket.
Folks are having to go outside the neighborhood. The USDA marks it as like 1 urban mile that folks are having to travel to go out, where the neighborhood is considered a food desert or a low-income, low-access area.
Beyond growing food, Fresh Future Farm has also made outreach and education a big focus, offering classes about topics like nutritional guidance, composting, and how to start your own garden.
I think the most important thing is that we're not trying to come into the community and tell them what to change, but these are things that you can add to improve your quality of life if that's what you're seeking out.
That was a beautiful community garden, and I love when young people get involved in gardening and doing things that are good for their communities.
That jumped out to me too, the age, and it just shows you, young people are interested, and hopefully more get involved in things like that.
Yeah.
Very important.
Still ahead, a job that takes patience, but the view is well worth it.
You can never beat the sunrises. Being on the mountain when it's quiet and no one else is here.
We ride along with the crews dedicated to carving the perfect slopes.
"50 miles east of Portland, the tallest peak in Oregon offers some of the best skiing in the state."
Reporter Bonnie Silkman takes us to Mount Hood, where crews are dedicated to giving skiers and snowboarders alike the perfect powder.
The beautiful Mount Hood is a sanctuary for skiers and snowboarders chasing freshly groomed slopes. But keeping these epic runs open, safe, and in tip-top shape is no accident. It's a meticulous science perfected under the cover of darkness.
The graveyard comes in at midnight, and they work till 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning.
While most of the world is asleep, Mount Hood Meadows groom manager Allison Mariner and her fleet of snowcats are working long shifts through the night, and we are getting the chance to hitch a ride.
It's 5:28 a.m. We are heading up Mitchell Creek.
Although a few other cats are up here with us, you can't help but feel very alone and in the middle of nowhere. As we slip through the darkness, passing silent trees and still chairlifts, the mountain seems to hold its breath in an eerie, still silence.
Once we make this right turn towards the bottom of the chairlift, it's no man's land.
And up here at the highest chairlift is the best part of her gig, a sunrise that makes every early alarm worth it. Nature's standing ovation. And Allison gets the front row seat all to herself.
You can never beat the sunrises. Being on the mountain when it's quiet and no one else is here, you're up here while the mountain wakes up.
Who's this over here?
So this is Jacob over here, one of our operators and our winch cat.
Allison says without her crew, this resort would grind to a halt.
During big powder days, we're digging out the chairlifts will get buried. Skiers move a lot of snow downhill a day, so we want to move that snow back up.
And that is a never-ending process, as both riders and the wind constantly shift the snow. But these cats are able to reshape the slopes with three main components.
So you got the implement on the front, which is the blade. Your tracks actually help process the snow as well, and then it goes into the implement on the back, and then the actual flaps on the back have that pattern, that notorious corduroy pattern. The corduroy is that finished product. That's that surface that people will be skiing on, so it's extremely important.
After a frigid night, those perfect fresh lines create a stable and soft slope. Exactly what snowboarders and skiers like me love to see.
Love coming out here and taking stuff that has been torn apart, putting it back together, making it a nice smooth surface, and just watching people rip it up. It's actually quite fun.
And Allison is on a mission to get more people to join her profession, especially more women.
It's mostly men. There's a lot more women out there than they used to be.
Representing women on the mountain and the unsung heroes of the slopes. So the next time you're flying down a groomer, whee, remember the quiet force beneath the snow.
And that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus, as part of their job, police officers often encounter people living with dementia, and sometimes those interactions can escalate.
Let go of my hand.
We take an in-depth look at one confrontation with an Alzheimer's patient, plus examine solutions to help first responders identify and react in similar situations.